all happening too fast. I had been hurt before.
I'm sorry.
I'd known her for years. We used to go to all the police functions together. Oh, I loved her, but she had her music. I think she had her music. She'd hung out with the Chicago Male Chorus and Symphony. Don't recall her playing an instrument or being able to carry a tune, yet she was on the road 300 days out of the year. In fact, I bought her a harp for Christmas. She asked me what it was. It's the same old story. Boy finds girl, boy loses girl, girl finds boy. Boy forgets girl, boy remembers girl. And girl dies in a tragic blimp accident over the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day.
Good year?
No, the worst.
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we're talking about the 1988 slapstick comedy classic, The Naked Gun, from the files of Police Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Nick, this was your pick. Why don't you give us the intro? Tell us why you chose it for us.
Yeah, so, this is one that we kind of decided on timing in accordance with the release of a sequel or remake.
That's right.
Which I'm actually kind of excited about, and we can get into that later as to why you and I are both maybe a little hopeful about the upcoming remake here. But this is just that classic style of comedy, Airplane, the other Naked Gun movies later. I think we had some Hot Shots, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, this kind of goofball, absurdist comedy style, which you said from the files of Police Squad. So as a kid, one of the times that we got videos, I remember getting the Police Squad tapes, maybe late 80s. It was before I had seen this.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And I really I thought it was so funny. And then I remember seeing it years later, when I was in my teens, and really being able to understand it and just, oh my God, this is the funniest thing in the world. Rex Hamilton as Abraham Lincoln and the siren and all this stuff. So I love Leslie Nielsen's deadpan sensibilities. He's just the perfect lead for this. Yeah. And it's just such a fun story, and you don't need to invest a lot in it to enjoy it. It's a good time. And I really, I love the sense of humor as a kid.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's interesting that, this is a movie based off of a TV series, but it's got to be the movie based off the shortest TV series of all time.
Right. It was 5 or 6 episodes.
6 episodes. It got canceled after 6 episodes. The only person outside of the creative team, obviously, which we'll get into, they created Police Squad, but as far as the actors go, only Leslie Nielsen, as far as I could tell, came over from the TV show into the Naked Gun movie series. So it really is a kind of thing where it's the Naked Gun is based off of a series, but it became far more of a success, of sort of a cultural impact than the Police Squad series ever did. But yeah, so my experience with Naked Gun, I definitely saw this. I don't know that I saw it when it came out, because I think we were 8. Right. So at a PG-13 movie, I probably didn't get taken to this by my parents. Although I'll say, the Zucker brothers and Abrahams rather, they did Airplane in 80. Yep. I'm pretty sure I saw that when I was 3, because my parents have stories that they tell of me at a very young age with company over saying something like, "What a pisser," right? Which is from that movie. So obviously I saw it young enough where it was still embarrassing to them that I was repeating it.
Talk some jive for him, little Steve.
Exactly. Right. So, so this is a thing where, it hit all the right notes when I was probably 10 or 11, right? When I first saw it. And there were plenty of jokes that went over my head at that time, for sure. I had no idea what was going on with the whole body condom scene. That was not something that really made sense to me at 10 years old, which is good. but yeah, it's a fun movie and really just indicative of the style of the Zuckers and Abrahams. And so we're going to get into the facts.
Yes.
The Naked Gun, From the Files of Police Squad. It came out on December 2nd, 1988. This is actually just a few days before my 9th birthday, as it turns out. Rated PG-13, a running time of 85 minutes. Directed by David Zucker and written by Jerry Zucker, Jim Abrahams, and David Zucker, also known professionally as the Kentucky Fried Theater. They did this and Top Secret and Kentucky Fried Movie. And, you know, I mean, so many.
Forgot to mention, other great ones in the genre for sure.
Absolutely. Starring Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, and Ricardo Montalban. Scores, incredibly high scores for what really is kind of a silly picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. So very critically well accepted when it came out. A 7.6 on IMDb. This is a fan favorite. This is a favorite of lots of people. Did not win any awards, but it didn't need to, because on a budget of $12 million, which is actually like reasonably, not like high, but like that's not nothing in 1988. Like that's a decent
real
size.
studio
It's a
movie,
real
at
studio
least.
movie for sure. It grossed $152 million at the box office, 12.7 times what it cost to make, which is, you know,
Is that our best multiple so
that is
far?
absolutely the highest of the movies we've done. That is the highest like multiplier over budget.
Yeah.
The other one that was close was Coming to America, which cost a little more, made quite a bit more, but like the ratio wasn't quite on for it. I will say too, Nick, I don't think we mentioned this at the top of the episode, but this is our 20th episode.
Good for us.
This is pretty cool.
Happy 20th episode. Yeah. And thanks for everyone listening for helping us get along this far. We've gotten some really good feedback from people, and it's been a lot of fun chatting about, you know, your thoughts on what we're saying and ideas for movies you want to see us do and everything. So that's been really cool.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the most fun kinds of emails we get is people sort of like joining in on the analysis with us. Hey, did you think about this when you saw? It's so much fun to get those kinds of emails from folks, and we do try to respond to everything we get. And so please, you know, if you ever want to throw us a line, the show at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. We're happy to hear it. But yeah, it was just real quick. Like I looked up as much best I could to do some little research with the chat GPT, asking it about, hey, in the film review sort of TV and film niche, you know, how many podcasts make it to 10 episodes? How many make it to 20? How many? So this is the numbers for you. About 40 to 50% of podcasts like our style make it to 10 episodes.
Okay.
About 18 to 22% make it here to 20, which is like pretty awesome.
All right.
And then it's only about, I think it said 8 to 12 make it to 50. So really, you know, right around 10% make it to 50. So we got a ways to go to get there, but absolutely we're going for it. We've got some theme months coming up. We've got some ideas at the start of our second season. Even we're starting to plan some things
really
for our
fun
second
stuff.
year. Yeah, it's going to be great. So please stick around, follow us on Spotify or Apple, and you will never miss an episode. But hey, let's dive in, man. This is the Naked Gun. Start us off. Where do we start, Nick?
So our open is in Beirut, Lebanon.
Yes.
And we're kind of shown a conference table, which just has all of the various costumed bad guys of the 80s, right? World leaders, but with their very distinct garb on. So you could tell who was who, even though they weren't necessarily naming them all right away. It was like, there's Idi Amin, there's Arafat, you know, so we had, and we talked about this before. It's funny that you wrote it down too. We had Idi Amin, the Ayatollah, we had Gaddafi, Gorbachev, Castro, some IRA guy that we couldn't identify. So they're, you know, planning their evil plans and everything. And somebody who's kind of completely cloaked is coming around filling cups, you know,
doing like a tea service or something. Yeah.
Right. Who maybe we're led to believe is a female in that scenario. But then, you know, they pull off their cloak and it's Sergeant Frank Drebin, Detective Lieutenant Police Squad.
Don't bust him down. He's lieutenant.
Sorry, that's for the next movie.
That's right. No, but it's great. He like slams the hot like tea kettle or whatever on the Ayatollah's hand, which sort of like reveals that because the Ayatollah is talking about how America's so dumb and the Americans are so lazy and whatever, and he's literally Drebin, as we don't see it's him yet, but he's literally like shaking. He's like hulking up.
He can't hear that about America.
No, heck no.
Very funny scene. One of them, you know, Mikhail Gorbachev very famously had that birthmark on his forehead, so he wipes it off with a rag, which is just a good gag. So I don't know. I mean, hitting with the topical stuff, it's good to set it up as this over the top one guy versus every bad guy, you know, in the world right now. Right.
But it was funny because I remember, I actually didn't remember this scene specifically when I rewatched it this past week. And it was something that I thought to myself at the time. I was like, why is he in Beirut?
Yeah.
He's a police officer.
Right.
He's not like CIA or, special forces or what the hell is he doing in Beirut? We find out a little later he was just on vacation, which is
that's
its own
very
hilarious
funny.
joke, right? To be on vacation in Beirut in 1988. But yeah, so basically Frank Drebin, our hero of the story, beats up all these guys, just punches them, throws them through stuff, using the furniture and everything, until he finally goes to jump out the window. He's like, I don't remember what he says. It's something about you can't talk about America like that or something.
Yeah.
It's just so silly, but it's a fun cold open.
Yeah. So he saves the day. And then we get the intro, which is from the point of view of the siren on the police car, which is from the Police Squad show.
Yes.
This is how the Police Squad show started. It was a very funny gag because it would just be a standard siren point of view going down a city street, and then it might turn and go up a pedestrian staircase and do all this crazy stuff. So it was a really funny gag. So at the beginning it's going through the streets, it goes through somebody's house.
You're right.
It ends up in a women's locker room, which is really funny. And then it's on a roller coaster for a while.
I like the roller coaster a lot.
That was really
fun,
cool. And then it comes to stop in front of a donut shop.
Yeah. Right. $1.99 for a dozen donuts, man. The times have changed. That's good stuff. Although it did say only from noon to midnight. So not if you're there for breakfast donuts, then they're more expensive.
So you don't get the fresh ones.
No. But anything that's left afternoon, $2 for a dozen. That's great.
Not bad. Yeah. So that was our intro. And now we kind of come into the action of the film, and we see a familiar face here.
Yeah. O.J. Simpson is on screen, and
And look, I do not want to speak ill of the dead, but he is convicted for burglary. He did steal all that memorabilia, and we can't just gloss over this.
Is that what we're focused on?
He spent time. It's the only thing he was ever convicted of. He spent time in jail for stealing memorabilia and kind of like intimidating somebody. And I don't think that's right. I mean, that's just me. So I'm a little wishy-washy on OJ, but he is deceased, so I don't really want to talk too badly about him.
I'm on the team or the side of all this that says, it really wasn't in the grand scheme of things that OJ did. Stealing back his own Heisman just didn't really rate. It really wasn't the worst thing he did. That's the stance. That's the brave stance I'm taking on OJ.
I just believe in the United States legal system, so maybe we could talk off the pod about it. No, I mean, it is so weird to see somebody like this who most of us would just consider to be, a very lucky murderer who ended up not getting convicted for something that seemed pretty
clear,
apparent that he did despite various miniseries. But I will say this. He is a funny actor.
Yes.
He is give him his flowers here.
Yeah.
He was very, very funny in the bits of this movie he's in.
So he's on the docks basically, and he's listening. He's got like one of those audio satellite dish kind of looking things, but it's picking up audio from far away. And so he's hearing people talk about basically doing a heroin deal, talking about like millions of dollars and this day and bring it here and this many kilos and whatever. And he's like, cool, I got him. And I'm thinking to myself, the first thing I'm thinking is like, why wouldn't he like call for backup? Like he's a single guy. There's clearly at least two people talking. Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, bare minimum, you're outnumbered 2-1, but he tries to kick in the door to get into where he believes this deal is happening, and he just kicks right through the door. And
that is such a funny way to start it off. Oh. You're just expecting this great scene of the door flying open and his foot goes through it, and then he awkwardly is pulling his leg out of the door hole and reaches in and has to undo it with his hand.
And of course, inside are a dozen, almost 8 or 10 bad guys, nondescript thugs, right? But they're all able to like get their guns out and get them like cocked and ready and sort of like all prepared to shoot him when he comes in. I mean, it gives them so much time to just, prepare for his entry. There's no more element of surprise. He probably should have just turned around and jumped off the boat at that point.
Oh yeah, he should have. And then when he gets in, he says, police, drop your weapons. And then one guy throws his weapon down.
And all the thugs like, what are you doing? Oh man.
This sequence, I think, is just, it sets us up for what to expect through the movie because we see the OJ character Nordberg. Mm-hmm. He gets shot like 100 times.
Oh man, so many times.
And then he hits his head. He puts his hand down on like a hot stove and burns it.
It's like a pellet stove, and he's like bouncing around the room a bit.
Whenever he's stumbling into all these obstacles, he leans into a door and then looks and sees a sign that says wet paint. And his reaction to it, where he's like, ugh.
Oh no!
After he's been shot 500 times,
bleeding out, but he got paint on his clothes.
And then he gets his finger slammed in a window. He puts his hand through a cake. he steps into a bear trap and then falls off the boat.
Right.
It's just so good. So I was watching this with my wife last night. She had a similar reaction to all of us when she saw OJ on screen. So when all that happened, she said, that should have been his punishment.
He did lose the civil trial, so
that's true. That happened to his wallet.
That's right, exactly. So then we go and we cut to an airfield, an airport, tarmac, as there's like gathering news reporters and he's here, he's coming, whatever, and our hero from Beirut, Frank Drebin, comes out of the airplane and sort of waves everybody as he comes down the steps, and he's met by his partner or his captain, or who is Ed? I'm exactly to him, but he's met by Ed, who's another member of police squad. They work together, and hey, we heard about what you did in Beirut, great work, whatever. And Frank walks up to the there's like a dais with like a bunch of microphones, like for a news gaggle, and he's like telling people like, oh, you're a bunch of like, you're here to just gawk at me and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's like, Frank, they're not here for you, Frank. Weird Al's on the plane.
I love that. And it's a theme. I know, at least in this and the third Naked Gun, Weird Al makes an appearance, and it's kind of this thing about he's the biggest celebrity in the world, because in Naked Gun 33 and a third, they're going to like the Oscars, and it's Weird Al Yankovic and Vanna White are like the biggest stars, right? It's just so funny. And good on Weird Al. This is early Weird Al-ish. I mean, it's post Fat.
Post UHF, I think, as well. Like that was like 86, I think. So,
but 88, I mean, he's like a universally beloved guy now, but he's put in like 40 years of work. At that point, he was still a pretty new guy that a lot of people didn't know.
I feel like this was the Zuckers and Abrahams or whatever, like kind of poking fun at Weird Al a little bit, and him being very willing to do so.
Oh yeah,
which very much tracks with like Weird Al's personality of being willing to like sort of laugh at himself and be like, yeah, I'm a silly satire song guy, but also just their senses of humor are obviously so similar. Right. If you are someone who loves Police Squad, The Naked Gun, Top Secret, Airplane, etc., you probably are also pretty into Weird Al's music.
Yeah,
like they're very similar styles comedically.
Definitely. So this is funny. Drebin's getting off the plane, no questions. And we're here for Weird Al. Now we're in the hospital.
Right.
And Ed is telling Frank about, Nordberg's, he got really beat up.
Yeah.
He's got a 50-50 chance of living. And there's only a 10% chance of that. These little lines in this that are just, it could go anywhere. It's still funny to this day. Like they fit jokes everywhere they can in this movie. How
inspired do you feel like Adam McKay was when he wrote essentially the same line in Anchorman, when it was, 60% of the time it works every time?
Right.
Very similar concept. And he's only a few years older than we are, so he probably was way into this movie too.
Yeah. A couple of things from this scene. So they're visiting Nordberg, OJ.
Right.
I'm just going to interchange those, I guess. One thing is that his wife refers to him as Nordberg, which makes me laugh so hard. There's this.
It's because they didn't want to give the character a first name. He didn't have one in Police Squad either. He just was Nordberg. Like,
In a really excellent Steven Seagal movie, Hard to Kill, where he like goes into a coma and stuff, he has a partner named O'Malley, and they never give him a first name. But there's a point where he's trying to reach this guy at his mom's house, and he's talking to this guy's mom. He's like, tell O'Malley that I'll meet him. It's like, she's an O'Malley. What are you doing, man?
I got to stop you real quick because there are no good Steven Seagal movies. So what are you talking about?
We'll get into that when Steve Timber hits.
Oh boy.
And then the other thing that I love, the gag that just any hospital scene always cracks me up. And when we were looking for a bed, we bought one of those Sleep Number beds that adjusts.
Nice.
And I asked the people at the store, can you get folded up in half in this bed? Because it's very important for me to know that.
Yeah.
And him getting fully folded in half in the hospital bed, it gets me every time.
The feet all the way up by the head and everything. And I love the doctor at one point, kind of early in, very almost under the other action happening, goes up to Nordberg's wife and is like, well, we think we can save your husband's arm. Where would you like it sent?
Yes. Actually, I just thought of this, but this is kind of a foreshadow to the rest of OJ's life and notoriety. So when they're leaving the hospital, they're assuring Nordberg's wife, we're on the case.
Yeah.
Not one man will rest until we find out who did this.
That's right.
Now let's go grab a bite to eat. And it reminds me of jokes that like Norm Macdonald was making about OJ not resting until he found the real killers, but then he's golfing and gambling and all this stuff.
Oh, I miss Norm Macdonald. So, all right. So moving forward from the scene, we get to an announcement from the mayor of Los Angeles. And Frank is on the dais at this announcement about the Queen of England coming to visit LA. She's apparently doing a US tour. And Los Angeles is one of like 3 cities she's chosen to visit. It would make sense to me if she was coming to visit like New York, Chicago, and LA. That sort of gives you a cross section of major American cities. So makes sense. And of course, then the mayor is also announcing that police squad led by Lieutenant Frank Drebin will be personally responsible for the security of the Queen when she's here. And it's, we don't really get a lot of understanding of what is police squad. It seems like it's a, special unit within the LAPD. They don't wear uniforms like beat cops, they're like detectives. So they wear suits, but it also doesn't seem like they are any particular kind of detective unit. They're not like a homicide unit or, specifically anything that I've seen plenty of police procedurals where they'll refer to some group as like major crimes. This is a big thing like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Where the vulture from major crimes would always come in and steal their cases away from them right before they captured the bad guy. So maybe that's what police squad is sort of a major crimes thing. Regardless, Frank struggles with his lavalier mic. And has to ask for, like basically somebody else like offers him it. And he gives a little speech and just like, hey, we're super proud that the Queen is coming. We're honored to be part of our protection unit, whatever.
And before this, he's drank like 3 pitchers of water. Like
just
there's
downing water.
The water out there. And this is late 80s. It was not normal to drink water in public. No. Nobody drank water. Bottled water didn't exist. We didn't even know the formula for water back then. So it was weird for him to drink.
They only found that second hydrogen atom in 1993. So he has to get up then and excuse himself after he talks. And I don't know for sure, but do we think this is the first mic'd up peeing joke in a movie? Like it might have been the earliest, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the first I remember seeing. And
it became really a trope. It's a thing that like happens in TV movies all the time now, but it really felt like this might have been the original.
Yeah, the first hot mic joke, I think. Yeah. And he really lets it rip. I mean, and this again predates Austin Powers. One of the better cinematic P's we've heard.
That's true. Yes.
And then he's cleared his throat and farting and all this. It was just very funny.
Singing a song. There's a point where clearly the way the sound changes, he's clearly peeing on the floor, possibly on his own shoes. Like it's bad. It's real bad. And it goes on for a good, I didn't time it, but I should have. It goes on for a good 30, 40 seconds of just solid stream. That's a lot of pee.
Yes. So great scene there. And at the same time now, Drebin is trying to find some information on Nordberg. And I think because, I don't know if they say this now or a little bit later, but because of their duty to kind of do security for the Queen, they can't really spare a lot of the police to go investigate the Nordberg thing. So it's Ed and Frank who are kind of looking into it.
Yeah. And Nordberg was undercover working on the docks basically. So in order to sort of like figure out what's going on with him, they have to go down to the docks and talk about him or whatever. And he does end up telling one guy, he's a cop, like he got beat out, he got shot, and now we got to figure out what happened to him. Really funny exchange with this guy about like, oh, hey, I don't remember. And he shows him a 20. You remember now? Maybe I'll remember. Shows him another 20. How about now? And he gives him the answer. And then the guy asks him a question.
He's like, why do you want to know? And he's like, I can't tell you. And the guy's like, maybe this will refresh your memory.
So they're passing the 20s back and forth. At one point,
he ends up like $40 down for being an informant.
But he also, he like owes Frank for, can you spot me 20? And then he bribes him with the 20. It's just like very funny, good stuff. But he basically discovers that like this guy thinks Nordberg was dealing H. And so he's like, well, he knows that's not true, or at least Frank doesn't believe that's true. And so he's going to go talk to the guy who owns the shipping company that Nordberg was basically like embedded with or undercover with or something. Right. I'm not sure exactly. I don't think they made super crystal clear the connection between Ludwig, the sort of big bad guy, and Nordberg in particular. But Ludwig runs shipping out of these same wharf that Nordberg got shot at. So that's the main kind of reason that Frank needs to go talk to him. Of course, we also find out this man Ludwig, who weird last name for a character played by Ricardo Montalban, but regardless, he is in charge of the welcome committee basically for the Queen. Right. So he's very much involved in
super
LA
connected, community. Like socialite, philanthropist type guy, like ultra classy, the rich guy everyone wants to know and everything.
Reminds me very much of like the Reverend Worley in Dragnet, where he's both. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No.
Oh my God, we're going to do that later. But basically, like he's both like this religious leader that everyone respects, and also the bad guy.
Yes.
Then you later find out. So same kind of thing here with Ludwig, with Ricardo Montalban. So Frank has to go visit in his office. At which point we get what is, I think, going to become one of the two dads sort of tropes that we follow, like assholes watch boxing on TV,
Yes.
which we know evil men have crazy ass fish in their fish
Dangerous
tanks.
pets. Yeah.
So just like Cosmo and Sneakers with the sharks in his fish tank, this guy has Japanese fighting fish.
Yes.
Which he is feeding little goldfish feeder fish to. And every time he drops one in, there's actually like a gulping noise, a little sound effect for the fighting fish gulping the little feeder. But yeah.
And he's kind of describing, the various things that he has. And shows Frank this samurai pen that he has, which was a gift from the Emperor Japan or something like that. And, it's completely indestructible, impervious to anything but water. And of course, we see Frank just goofily trying to break it. And then it flies out of his hand and goes into the fish tank.
Yeah, it's like the cap slips off or something as he's like, applying tension. And so it just, flips out of his hand, lands in the fish tank. And now he has to sort of try to get it out while,
still like having a conversation with this guy who's looking up and down.
Ludwig's telling him about stuff, about, sort of the shipping and Nordberg and everything that happened, because he's aware, of course, that something happened the night before. And, but he's like playing coy, and Frank is trying to not make it obvious that he's basically got his hand in the fish tank like the whole time. And I know that at one point he's like holding the fish and the pen.
Yeah. So the fish bites his hand, right. Yeah. And and then he reaches in and grabs the pen. And so he has the fish in the pen, and then the guy looks up at him, and he quickly puts his hands behind his back. And I think in the process of that, he basically impaled the fish, the priceless fish, with the priceless pen, which is now destroyed now that it's touched water. So Frank gonna Frank.
Yeah, and so he just drops the impaled fish and pen back into the fish tank because he's going to get going. And really, it's funny because Ludwig does not recognize anything that's happening at all until the very end when Frank goes to shake his hand with the hand that's been dunked into the fish tank. And it is just wet. It's as if he was holding a cup of water and dumped it out as he went to shake his hand. It's so much water. Very, very funny scene.
And Ludwig, much like this character in most movies, is pretending to be extremely helpful. Mm-hmm. Whatever you need, Mr. Drebin. My assistant, Miss Spencer, Jane Spencer, who's played by Priscilla Presley.
Right.
I don't know what her acting background was going into
this point,
but I think she's very funny in this. She's kind of the perfect type of actor to be in this role.
Well, especially given the age difference between she and Leslie Nielsen. She's very used to age differences, having met her husband Elvis when she was 14. So
Seinfeldian.
Yeah, real bad. But I don't know. Like, you go on, I'll look and see what else she was doing.
Yeah. So there's a very funny scene where she's, I think, looking for something for Frank. She's up on an attic ladder, so you can kind of see her from the knees down, and she's up there in, a business professional outfit, but it's a dress, a skirt, or a dress and a. Anyway, so she's up there, and Frank looks up and he says, "Nice beaver." And then there's a beat, and then, "Thanks, I just had it stuffed." And she hands a stuffed beaver down. I will say, the first few times I saw this, that went right over my head.
Oh, yeah.
I was not familiar with that terminology.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of those things where as a kid, I still thought this movie was funny, even though like one of the main jokes just whiffed right by me.
So I love too, there's two jokes here, right? So it's like, nice beaver as he's looking up, ostensibly up her skirt. That's the sort of more obvious one.
Right.
Thanks, I just had it stuffed.
Yes.
Which is another sex joke before she brings down this taxidermied beaver to hand to him, to help him. And I definitely got the nice beaver part of that joke at a younger age than I got the stuffed part. Like, definitely, I didn't understand those jokes at the same time.
I didn't get the stuffed thing until just now.
Oh boy, and you have a daughter. But yes, like it's funny sometimes how even, half a joke will go over your head, depending on what age you see this as. By the way, I looked up Priscilla Presley before this movie, did a couple of minor things, but then was a regular on the series Dallas. So she was on 140 something episodes of Dallas. That was her main acting before The Naked Gun. So
okay, well that's a show I'm not familiar with, but I know at the time when there was like 5 total shows, especially that had runs like that.
There were only 3 networks, right?
Yeah,
this was even before
incredible.
Fox was a thing, really. So yeah, there were 3 networks, and that was like the primetime major show of one of them. So good for her. That was definitely where she, got people's attention, got the Zuckers' attention, I guess, to be in this.
Another scene I thought was funny during this is she's down off the ladder and they're talking to each other, and he points to her ankle. He says, "Oh, that's a nice ankle bracelet." And then she looks down. She says, "Oh, did that slip down there again?" And picks it up and puts it on her wrist.
I'll be honest with you, I still don't really get that joke. Like, how would it get all the way down to her foot. I don't
because
quite...
cartoon world. It doesn't,
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I do love. I think we skipped it real quick, but I don't want it to go unmentioned. When Frank is still talking to Ludwig, he asks where Norberg is, and he mentions the name of the hospital is Our Lady of the Worthless Miracle, which is just one of the funniest. This single little the way to name something so ludicrously. But yeah, he's going back to police squad now. He's got to go back because he's now been given some files by Jane, and so he's going to look. And of course, and before that though, Ludwig has asked Jane, stay close to him. We need to know what he knows because if something illegal is happening in my company, I need to know about it because I have commitments to the stockholders. I got to make sure that everything's on the up and up. Obviously, he really just wants her to spy on Frank, but she is not in on his evil schemes or anything. So she needs to be given a legitimate reason to think she's doing this.
Right.
So that sets up sort of why she kind of tries to get closer to Frank a little bit, but he has to go back to the police squad. And something we should mention is that every single time Frank drives a car, when he gets to where he's parking, he just crashes into something, right? Sometimes
trash
it's other cars,
cans, a guy in a ladder,
oh my God,
whatever,
an entire scaffold with multiple construction workers on it or painters, whatever they were. Real bad stuff. But yeah, so he slams into I think it's a dumpster this time as he drives back to police squad, gets out of the car, but doesn't put it in park, I guess, or something.
So
what
his
is it?
His airbag goes off,
that's right.
and then there's a secondary airbag that then moves the 3-on-the-tree shifter to put his car into gear again. So his car starts rolling down the hill. So his car's rolling out of control down the hill, and Frank reacts in a very realistic way. Immediately starts freaking out and shooting at it. Stop that car! Did anyone get a license plate? Not realizing it's his car.
How did he not recognize his own car?
And it's just causing chaos. It's just going down the road. I think it explodes at the end. It's just and
it's got
funny.
7 airbags that are all really just balloons. They're not even good airbags. They're just balloons inflated out the windows. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
He's now he's at police squad and he's kind of at the lab.
Yeah. Like in James Bond, when he goes to Q to get the gadgets, that's sort of the part of police squad that Frank has come to.
Right. And one of the gags that they do in the lab in this briefly, but this was something that on the police squad show really killed me, is every time he would walk into the lab with the scientist opens a door to walk into a lab and Frank just walks around the side of the door. There's a half wall going into the lab. So you don't have to use the door to get into it. It's like a half wall. And it's just such a funny gag, especially for something that's like a top secret laboratory,
right? Yes.
And he's showing Frank some of the gadgets that they have. So they have a shoe, and push a button, and the blade comes out of the toe of the shoe. And then he's like, oh, and then there's a corkscrew, and it's like a Swiss Army shoe. It has all this stuff in it. There's cufflinks that will shoot a dart that will knock somebody out for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And it just shoots this little tiny dart. And he's like, let me demonstrate on Frank.
On Ed.
And Ed's not even paying attention. And he shoots him in the neck with it. And he just holds his neck and he looks at him and he goes, why? And then falls over.
And before that, they look out the window and they see, like in Demolition Man, the anti-graffiti wall. But this, instead of actually getting rid of the graffiti, just sprays the vandals with their own paint, basically.
Yes.
So I guess you could find them later and pick them up.
So good work in the police lab, as always. So they're trying to take a look now. I guess they have a fiber sample from Norberg's clothing that night, and they're looking at it in a microscope. So this is also a gag that works really well. Frank Drebin closes his eye, puts his eye down in the microscope. I don't see anything. And Ed says, try to use your open eye, Frank. And then he puts his head up and his closed eye was over the over the eyepiece.
Good stuff.
And then he also cranks the microscope down and you can hear the slide getting crushed.
Yes.
The information we're supposed to take from the scene, though, is that there's traces of heroin on Norberg's fiber of his clothing.
Right.
So what they're saying about heroin, it doesn't look good for him. So you basically have, 24 hours to clear his name.
Right. Yeah. Because they said, if the queen gets here and we're doing the security for the queen, and then people find out, Nordberg, this who's part of police squad has had this side gig of dealing H. Yeah, that's gonna be a massive problem. So basically, you either got to clear Nordberg's name or I got to fire him before the queen comes. Right. That's sort of the now we have a ticking time bomb. For Frank now.
There's kind of a interesting 1-sentence description of this movie that could be. Our hero tries to prove O.J. Simpson innocent.
I don't think that movie would have done as well. I got to be honest with you.
Mr. Ludwig is shown now, and he's meeting with one of the gentlemen that we recognized from the Lebanon meeting earlier.
Technically, really the only one we don't recognize, like, because we both were talking about how, like,
we know he was there, but we don't know like what his name was or anything.
Watching that opening scene, it was like, oh, here are all these very sort of famous and very whether from, you know, hairstyle or clothing or whatever, very recognizable, you know, world leaders, and then this other guy.
Right.
And he kind of stuck out that way. And now we find out that his name is Papschmier. And he has come to see Mr. Ludwig, yes.
And what Mr. Ludwig, so, you know, now we know Mr. Ludwig is in league with these guys, and what he's talking to him about, what's the most effective assassin, you know? And he says, well, you know, an assassin who doesn't get caught. And he's like, yeah, you know, that's good too. He calls his secretary in basically and says, well, what about this? And he has her in some kind of like mind control. There's some switch, like some trigger for her where she dissociates and turns into just a brainless, you know, Sirhan style assassin and, you know, picks up the gun, which is not loaded, but picks it up and points it at Mr. Papschmier, click, 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 and then up to her head, click, 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 click.
Exactly.
And then he, you know, untriggers it. And then she's just all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, there's a gun on the floor. What happened? So basically he's saying we're able to create an assassin that does not know they're the assassin. Like, this is the most effective weapon that we can wield, you know?
Yeah. And then again, if that assassin kills themselves after
then there's
completing their assassin, and there's no more investigation.
Yes.
It's literally like, hey, we literally all witnessed this person kill this famous person and then kill themselves. Like, that's the story.
Yeah.
So it is really quite a brilliant plan. Not going to get into how the hell it could possibly work. It seems like it has something to do with people's watches, because every time he presses the little button on his little car remote, the person being affected, we see their watch and we hear it beeping.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really make any sense how that could work.
You would need a lot of like programming beyond that to make that work on someone with a device. You couldn't just put a watch on someone and make them do that. But, you know, it's a movie, it's shortcuts, it's 85 minutes. Okay, so now Nordberg is in the hospital, right?
Oh, right.
And they don't like that Nordberg is still alive. They were pretty happy with the idea that he'd been shot 20 times and that he's out of the picture because he could potentially blow this whole thing wide open. And the doctor in the hospital appears to have a similar watch to Ludwig's secretary, and he gets the beep. And then all of a sudden, you know, he turns into assassin mode.
Yeah.
The doctor goes in there and he's trying to suffocate Nordberg with a pillow. At this same time, Frank Drebin comes in there and he catches the doctor in the act. So the doctor's trying to suffocate him with the pillow. At one point, the doctor throws the pillow at Frank Drebin, and then Frank acts like it latches onto his face.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny the way he's like struggling with this pillow up against his face and then throws it off. And the doctor ends up escaping and takes off in a car. And Frank goes to commandeer a vehicle, and what he ends up getting into is a driver's ed car.
Right. Oh, that's right. And the driver instructor is John Houseman.
Oh, okay.
The actor who plays John Houseman. Like, if you don't know, like, John Houseman is like Hollywood royalty. Like, John Houseman, like, was a producer at David O. Selznick Productions. He was, he worked with Orson Welles on Citizen Kane. Like, John Houseman is like a legend. And this is the last movie he was ever in.
Oh, funny.
Which was like not bad for him, but definitely not like really his style. Like, he was in Scrooged and this, both in 1988. Those were his like last two films, but in Scrooged, he played himself. He was literally like, John Houseman was narrating.
Oh, because that was about the movie business a little bit.
The TV business. And he like, was the narrator for the Christmas Carol in Scrooge. It was John Houseman. So, but yeah, I recognized like, oh my God, that's John Houseman. Why is he here?
This scene is great. We have Frank Drebin sitting in the back seat of the car, basically trying to lead a high-speed chase against this doctor who's escaping, the assassin doctor who's fleeing the scene. And he's basically telling the driver what to do. The driver will only listen to what the instructor is telling her. So he's kind of translating it into the driver instructor language. Yes. Really funny. And they're doing these crazy moves. They end up going the wrong way down a one-way street, about to come head on with a semi-truck. He very calmly tells her, place the vehicle in reverse, backs out, put your hand out the window, extend your middle finger. And the look on the truck driver's face that he got flipped off, I think was very funny. The doctor ends up just driving he drives into a gas truck, which explodes.
Right.
Then he drives into a mobile surface-to-air missile-looking thing, and that explodes. And then into a fireworks factory.
Right.
And Frank Drebin is standing there in front of this with all these explosions and stuff, telling all the people, no, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. Please disperse.
Became very much a famous and very common meme these days on social media or whatever, where people are talking about, somebody's trying to cover something up, or, like there's obviously something going on, but we're being told officially not to bother. It'll literally be the animated gif of Frank Drebin. No, nothing to see here, folks. Walk away, as the fireworks explode behind him. I also feel like the that sort of surface to air missile thing, I feel like, I'm not going to say it was, that feels like a slight nod to Spies Like Us, the Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd film, which is also one of my favorites from the era, but maybe not. Maybe that's just happy coincidence.
Also very similar to one of the micro machines that Kevin McAllister puts down on the floor as the burglars step inside the window. So maybe we're Spies Like Us all around here.
Good stuff.
Okay, so Drebin, now he's going home to his apartment.
Right. And this was something that even as a kid, I knew this was good, right? Her standing in the kitchen, basically just wearing his dress shirt, Jane, like that worked for me.
Yeah.
Even just as puberty was nascent, like it was like, yeah, all right. That's hot. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really understand it, but it was like, we're supposed to like that. I felt like there was something ingrained in me that was supposed to like that.
For sure. And this is something they do with Leslie Nielsen, where they add these absurd stunts to his character. He's clearly like an older guy and, not in bad shape, but not someone who's acrobatic. So when he walks into his apartment, he sees like somebody's in here. This is weird. And he's flipping and rolling and somersaulting over the couch and stuff to try to find her before he stumbles on Jane in the kitchen.
Yep.
He says after he encounters her and finds out why she's there, she said, oh, we should have dinner sometime. So I came over. He says, let me slip into something more comfortable. And he goes from like his suit, his like police detective suit, into like a 3-piece suit, which kills me.
Yeah, like it's almost a tuxedo. Like it's so formal looking. Yeah, it's very funny.
She has him try the pasta sauce. I think she dips his finger, or he dips his finger into it, and then she's sucking on his finger, and he goes, "I got 9 more," and she just gets this disgusted look on her face.
Very, very suggestive indeed. And I think, we can comment briefly on the age difference between these two, right? Leslie Nielsen was 62, I think, when The Naked Gun came out. Priscilla Presley, I'm not sure exactly, but she was like, honestly, probably in her like late 30s. There's probably at least a 25-year difference between these two.
Ooh.
And so it's just kind of funny to me that that's the case. And I think that one of the reasons, I'm going to kind of interject this now, that I think you and I both are kind of excited about the Naked Gun reboot was, first of all, the involvement of Akiva Schaffer, who we're both big fans of, obviously.
Great work.
But the casting of Liam Neeson, who is in his 70s, as Frank Drebin, who clearly they're playing the character at like in The Naked Gun in maybe his 40s, right? Like this is like a mid 40s character played by an early 60s actor. Yeah. I mean, Neeson's even older. He's in his like 70s now. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he is not a young man. So very much leaning into and making more ridiculous that sort of age discrepancy, I feel like is one of those things where I feel like the people who are creative team behind the reboot get it. Right. Yes. And that's, I think, the biggest thing you can ask for. If you're taking an old, property and trying to bring it back to life, like, do you actually get it? Or are you just there to like make a buck? And I get the sense that casting decision alone is like, oh, they get it.
Yeah. It seems like it's made by people who grew up loving the movie and want to do it right.
I agree.
This part here has my favorite quote in the movie, and I pulled it up so that I can read it properly. So him and Jane are in his apartment. They're kind of, getting to know each other. They're flirting. She's made him dinner and everything. Right. And I think she's asking him about his, prior love life.
Sure.
So this is what Frank says. It's the same old story. Boy finds girl. Boy loses girl. Girl finds boy. Boy forgets girl. Boy remembers girl. Girl dies in a tragic blimp accident over the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day. And then Jane says, good year? Frank says, no, the worst. To me, that is such a perfect joke. I cannot.
It's very good.
Zero notes. I think about this all the time. Like of anything in this movie, this joke specifically, I think about so much. The good year, no, the worst is just, it has everything. So I love that so much.
There are elements of this movie that I feel like don't work as well as either Airplane or Top Secret, which I do think are both better movies than this. I'll just be totally honest. And one of the greatest, I mean, the thing about Airplane is that one of the greatest lines that lived for, forever from Airplane, right, is, Shirley, you must be joking. Don't call me Shirley. I'm not joking. Don't call me Shirley, right? Classic. It's delivered perfectly. It's wonderful. There's a couple others very much like it. And to me, Goodyear, Know the Worst is the most Airplane-like joke in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that like the other jokes aren't good. I'm just saying like, to me, that felt like a much more classic Kentucky Fried Theater joke, whereas by the late 80s, they were leaning into kind of other stuff and more like satire and different things. But yeah, I agree with you. That joke, the Goodyear Know the Worst, is like so clean. It's like so pure a joke. It's so nice. Yeah.
And it really of the time, because I don't know how much swag the Goodyear blimp has here in 2025, but back in 88, it was easily the most famous blimp.
For sure. I mean, in 92, right? Ice Cube, right? I even saw the lights of the Goodyear blimp. Yeah. So, yeah.
Good Day? Yeah, the best.
Yeah, right.
Oh, shit. Damn it.
I missed it. Such a lost opportunity. Come on, Cube.
So just wrapping up the scene, which you mentioned a little earlier, is I think Frank says, I practice safe sex.
Right,
and Jane says, so do I. And then it cuts to the sex scene where they're both wearing like full body condom outfits. Yeah.
Head to toe. And they're sort of trying to roll around together. And then we get the dating montage, right? Which is real good.
This is where I was rolling. Because honestly, this movie started a little slow for me.
Okay.
And then at this point, I was like, oh, we are in it now.
Yeah. It was good for me, for better or for worse. I think my gummy kicked in right about this part of the movie. So very, not that I didn't enjoy up to this point, but like it definitely got very enjoyable from here on. It's a wonderful montage because it so clearly takes place over multiple days.
Yes.
Like it has to. Like they're wearing different outfits. There's like multiple different time periods. We go back and forth between where they're doing different things. My personal favorite, I'll let you get to your, I know you've got some, but my personal favorite is they're running on the beach and another couple is in slow-mo running towards them and they clothesline with like one of the crispest, like the Road Warriors couldn't have done a better clothesline. Like it was perfect.
It was excellent. They should have been the final two in the Royal Rumble that year for sure. Yeah, the song that they play, that something tells me I'm into something
Herman's
good.
Hermits. Yep.
Really just the perfect upbeat song for this stuff. So it's very kind of cheesy date falling in love montage and we're having cotton candy and stuff. The thing that made me laugh the hardest is it shows them walking out of a movie theater just like busting their guts laughing, and then it pans up to the marquee and it says Platoon.
Right. It's very good.
It made me laugh so hard, and hopefully our listeners are familiar with the dark movie Platoon.
But here's the thing though, I feel like I had a better joke in my head. So as they're walking out of the theater, I remember that this joke existed, but I didn't remember what movie it was.
Yeah.
So it's when there walking out laughing, I go, oh, that's right. They're seeing something somber. And I don't know about the timing of when the movies came out, so maybe it wouldn't have made sense. But I thought, wait, were they seeing Sophie's Choice? Is that what they saw? Because I feel like that would have been an even better joke than Platoon. It's laughing through Sophie's Choice.
Like maybe they're like, we're not going to be able to be PG-13 if we keep squeezing this stuff in there.
Maybe that would have been too brutal a joke. I don't know. But they do say then at the end of the montage, Jane says to Frank, I can't believe we only met yesterday. It's been such a great day. It's like, no. You guys had like 3 dinners in that montage. What's going on?
So Frank and Ed now, God, this like 3 sequence between the Goodyear joke, the montage here, and then Frank and Ed sitting in the car on stakeout, and they're both sitting there on stakeout outside of Ludwig's place, and they're eating out of these like little tiny bags of like dyed red shelled pistachios, and they have red all over their mouths and hands and stuff, and they're just eating the pistachios and talking. And then finally, when Frank decides, okay, I'm going to go in, and he goes to open his door and he's struggling, and there's a 3-foot pile of pistachio shells up against the door of the car.
I mean, there must be 1,000 shells of pistachios at least there. And like, I've never had dyed pistachios before, but I've eaten pistachios. Like those things are filling. Right? You have like 20 pistachios. You feel like you had a snack, like you're good for a little while. He would like, they must have been there for hours and hours and just like, and eating without abandon, like constantly eating to get that pile. And the fact that, he has to like push his door open like 4 times before he can push the pile of pistachio shells aside. It's really good.
If you had like the 92 Phillies switch from sunflower seeds to pistachios, I don't think they generate that many shells. John Kruk and all, they're not gonna put that many shells out. So great visual gags, so funny. And then so Drebin goes in and he's trying to get into Ludwig's apartment. He takes out
his office, right? It's like
his office,
right?
He takes out his credit cards, and he goes to open the door with the credit card, and he can't do it. And then he pulls it out. That's a MasterCard. And then he grabs an American Express card to do the same thing, to try to wedge the door open, and it works.
Which, like,
another good gag.
Is I gotta ask though, is that a joke that's just about the idea that the cards are like a ring of keys and he has to try a different one? Or was it a joke specifically about, Ludwig being rich and therefore the Amex is the one that does it? Like, I don't know like how deep that joke goes, but like,
because
at the very least it was
hard
like
to come by at that time.
Absolutely. It was like you kind of, I don't think they had the gold or platinum or anything else carded. I mean, to get an Amex in the late 80s, you had money.
Because they didn't have, like, now they have an American Express branded credit card that works like a credit card.
Exactly.
But back then, there was no limit on an Amex, but you had to pay it at the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like they didn't just give them out to anybody.
No. So I'm wondering if that joke was 2 layers deep or not, or if I'm just making that up.
I do just like the idea of like, oh, it's a different credit card that I need to lock.
This one didn't fit the lock, right? Yeah.
And he gets in there and he's looking for something, some kind of clue.
Yeah.
He's being incredibly careful.
Yes, very careful.
Not touching anything.
Right.
Everything's going back how it started. He accidentally pushes a button that says piano. Right. And all of a sudden, this player piano lights up, starts playing like super loud. Oh, okay, turns that off. And he sees that there's some, unidentified piece of paper, which is sitting under a house of cards that's built on this desk. And he very carefully like sweeps it out like a magician pulling a tablecloth, and he's trying to read it and he can't quite read it. He steps into the light. He can't see it. So he lights his lighter to try to read it. He figures out what it says. And I think it says like $20 million to kill the queen.
Kill the queen. Yeah, exactly.
And as he's pondering this, he's just keeping the lighter lit and the paper down, and he's set the paper on fire.
Right. Now. It's like his hands both dip below frame, so we don't technically, but we realize he's put them down together, and the smoke comes, and then the glow.
What's that?
What is that? Oh, I'm holding something burning. Oh man! And the whole office just goes up.
He steps in the he throws it in the trash bucket.
Oh, that's right.
He steps in the bucket. He ends up sitting on this panel of buttons, and the piano starts going off, right? And then, oh no, and he bumps into a shelf, and all these vases start falling off, and he's trying to catch them as they fall. And then he's like, everything he's trying to save, he's making worse. So he's destroying the entire apartment. And at the same time, he's looking at the surveillance camera. He sees Ludwig is coming
on his
home
way up. Yeah, and so he has to climb out the window.
Yes.
And when he climbs out the window, like the first thing I think almost anybody probably noticed is that these are like statues, like very like Art Nouveau statues on the outside of this building. But they're very anatomically correct.
Yes.
Like not just like the female statues don't just have breasts, which is like fairly common for, that style, whatever, but the male statues have like enormous dongs. Yeah. Basically, and they're hooked. And so he's trying to like wiggle his way.
And it's like alternating like male, female statues as he moves his way along.
Along this like, the sort of ledge outside the window because he's trying to get away, and he's initially able to grab onto sort of one of the breasts of the female statue to like make his way around a corner, at which point a woman is like for some reason like leaning out her window. I don't know exactly why.
Yes.
He, without looking, grabs onto her breasts to like, try to steady himself. And of course she freaks out, and that, is like a whole thing. And then he's able to sort of almost fall, but catch himself by grabbing onto one of the male statue's huge penises basically, and hold on for dear life.
And he's holding on to this penis, this concrete penis, like a handle, and pulling it up. And it's like he's pulling. It's so funny.
Very visual gag, hard to explain.
And it gets twisted up, and then it shows like the face of the statue is smiling, which reminds me a lot of the inflatable autopilot on airplane, right? With the manual inflate thing. And he ends up getting inside the window, but he has this concrete wiener in his hand, and goes back into that woman's apartment, this poor woman who he grabbed when he was trying to come around the corner. And
he's just like stumbling towards her, and she's freaking out. And we have like a hard cut then back to the mayor, and Frank and Ed are in front of the mayor, and the mayor's yelling at him about like, arson, destruction of private property, a bad sexual assault with a concrete dildo. Like, what is wrong with you? She's just losing it. Oh man. Have we mentioned, by the way, the mayor is the same woman who played Livia Soprano?
No, let's talk about that.
Oh my God. So I did not actually recognize her in the first scene she was in with the big sort of the press conference. It was in this scene that I looked at her, and it was the way she looked yelling at him. I went, oh man, that's exactly how Livia used to yell at Tony. Oh, that is Livia Soprano. Holy crap.
Great to see her. Really, really good actress. A quick Livia Soprano aside. I bought this cookbook one time, and it was like the Sopranos cookbook.
I've seen that
right?
one, yeah.
And it looked pretty official. Sometimes there's really bootleg versions of that, but it looked pretty official. And both the inside both the inside front and inside back cover, full like 2 pages of one photo, and they were both the same photo. And it was a photo of when Livia Soprano was trying to cook and she like set the kitchen on fire. Of all the scenes in that show where there was food and there was people eating and stuff, for that to be the inside and the front and back cover blew my mind. So that always really cracked me up. But I love Livia Soprano. I love that actress. She really, really good at yelling at Frank Drebin too.
At least one of them, at least one of those pictures should have been Silvio, like beckoning the gabagool over.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly. Come on.
Over here.
The gravy's good today.
Right, the gravy. Oh, we're not Italian Americans. We don't know. Anyway, so basically she tells Frank, like, you're off, you know, like
you're not welcome at the Queen's reception. No. You stay away from us. You're a disaster.
Exactly.
Frank, he's back at his apartment. Frank isn't really a renegade cop, but in a renegade cop movie, the guy who's like, you know, plays by his own rules, whatever, has a very sad home life and just a disgusting refrigerator. So he goes into it and there's a half gallon of milk and he goes to pour it and it comes out like cottage cheese.
Real chunky, real bad.
There's just like all this nasty stuff that had expired forever ago. Jane shows up and there's like a Chinese food container. He asks if she wants to eat. She's like, oh, that place closed 3 years ago.
Did they reopen? I thought they closed 3 years ago.
Frank's like, oh, has it been that long? And then as she's talking to him, he takes a whiff of it and like passes out on the floor and slowly makes his way back up. So I like Frank Drebin's fridge as a scene here.
So really well, in the freezer, Jane like opens the freezer and everything is frozen into a block of ice in the freezer because he hasn't even opened it in so long. There's like old ice cream and stuff. But yeah.
So this next scene here, this was me like not remembering when things came out.
Okay.
So he pulls up to, Frank is going to Ludwig's meat packing plant.
Right.
Right. And it's just every movie has this end scene in this kind of industrial area. But when he pulled up, I was like, oh, that looks like Axis Chemicals from Batman.
Oh, from Batman.
But I didn't realize that. I thought Batman came out after this. I thought it was 89, but I think it was 87 or something.
No, Batman was 89.
Okay.
The Tim Burton, Michael Keaton Batman was 89. Yeah.
So in this scene, though, he has, it looks like very much like Axis Chemicals. And then he has the fight with this guy up on the meat rack. The guy falls in and then his hand comes up. And it's a lot like the Joker when he falls into that. So I wonder if like some of that was available at this time because it was very confusing to me.
That's interesting. I didn't put that together watching it, but yeah, that's very interesting. I'm sure that Batman was 89.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, 89 was the Tim Burton, the original Tim Burton Keaton Batman. Came out in 89. So I think that was either coincidence.
Preview?
It could have been coincidence, or it could have been Burton referencing this, I suppose. Or, I mean, I don't know.
But if there was something that was pulled from like a Batman comic or something where it had that look. But anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. And it looked so much like Batman that it was uncanny. Because I'm not like super familiar with it, but I was like, Axis Chemicals.
That's a good point. No, it really did. And actually it's important, I think, for us to mention when Jane came over to Frank's apartment, she told him that Ludwig wanted to meet him at the packing plant. Yes. So then when he gets there and it's an ambush, Frank now is blaming Jane, right, in his head or whatever, about like, hey, you set me up because I got there. And this guy, he's like, hey, are you Drebin? Yeah. He like shoots at him and he basically says something like, while he's shooting, like, oh, Mr. Ludwig says to die or whatever. He's like, I can't hear you. Don't talk while you're shooting the gun. Oh, so good.
So he's pissed now. So Frank feels he's been betrayed, and he goes to this Queen's reception, where Ludwig and Jane are there, and they're sitting together. When he walks up to them at the table, Ludwig looks at him. He says, "Drebin," and Jane says, "Frank," and he says, "You're both right."
But even before that, like he gets their Ed's at the front, and he's like, "Ed, we gotta like, you know, the Queen's in danger," because he saw this thing, and Ed knows that he saw the note, right, even though it burned up in the fire, and he's like, "Oh, you know, like Ludwig's here and everything's in danger, blah, whatever. We got to frisk everybody." And it's like the amount of frisking they do is crazy. And then Ed standing behind a guy getting frisked, and Frank is reaching into Ed's pockets and finds Ed's gun. And it's just like so dumb.
He says, "Hey, Ed, this guy's got a picture of your wife in his wallet."
Ed knocks him out with one punch. Anybody else dating Ed's wife?
Yes. Oh, God.
But this is the point in the movie where I thought to myself, first of all, I had been smiling or laughing like the whole time. Don't get me wrong. But like, this is so dumb. And it's not dumb in a bad way at all. It's just so dumb. Like to have the characters act in an incredibly dumb way.
Yeah.
Often. Right. That's sort of like the thing of the movie, which again is fine. But this was the scene where I was like, God, the frisking in particular, I that was a groaner for me. Like it was funny, but I was also like, oh man, really? We're gonna, like, I don't know. It just felt so kind of over the top dumb. Like, how do you not know? How does Ed not know that Frank's hands are? It's just kind of weird.
Well, but we're like an extra 2 generations removed from like the Three Stooges influence. And I think the people who made this movie were heavily influenced by that kind of stuff.
That's fair. Yeah.
So a lot of it was kind of like Three Stooge-ish. Drebin ends up, does he feel he's trying to save the queen? He ends up.
Yeah, because Ludwig is giving her a Revolutionary War musket as like a gift. But as she comes in as being introduced, he's like kind of pointing it towards her, but like trying to show it off. But all Drebin sees is he's pointing a gun at her. So, he dives on her the way like Secret Service would on the president or whatever. But they end up sliding all the way down the like main table, essentially in missionary position.
Yep.
So when we get to the end, he gets his photograph taken, like he's porking the queen. And
all that newspaper headlines or police ruins everything, whatever.
Right.
Real quick about the gun gift, I'm reminded of one of my favorite deep thoughts by Jack Handey, where he says, I think a really good gift for the president would be a chocolate revolver, but since he's so busy, you probably have to run up real quick and hand it to him.
That's good. That's good. For some reason, it made me think of Wayne's World, like a gun rack. What do I need a gun rack for? I don't own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. Like,
so Frank, after this debacle, understandably, Frank Drebin is kicked off the force.
Persona non grata. He is not welcome anywhere at all anymore. Yep.
Frank's line, he says, "Just think, the next time I shoot someone, I could be arrested."
Yeah. Poor guy. What's he going to do? All right. So then we cut to the baseball game now, right?
Yes.
Because that's the big thing. One of the big things the Queen's going to do while she's in LA, apparently is not attend an LA Dodgers game, because that would make sense. She's going to go to Anaheim and she's going to attend a California Angels game. That's who they were at the time. Of course, now they're the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim because they still play in Anaheim. But she's going to go to the baseball game, and basically Frank knows that one of the players is going to be used to kill the Queen. So he has to figure out which player. So he has to get close to the players. And so the first thing he does is when he's in the sort of the underbelly of the stadium, he sees the guy who's like an opera singer who's going to sing the national anthem. His name is Enrico Palazzo, sort of a Placido Domingo, or, whatever.
Who is very fat in a tuxedo.
Right, exactly. Yes. Very, very overweight man, big guy wearing a tux. Frank hits him over the head, like pushes him into the room as the head usher arrives, and immediately Frank is in the tuxedo. It fits perfectly. It is tailored to him. So it's hilarious. And he's like, "Oh, Mr. Palazzo, like, why don't you come out?" I actually want to say, I think I jumped ahead just a bit, which is like Happy Gilmore. This has another element that I love. Anytime movies with sports in it does this, where it's real announcers for the sports element, and
they really did it.
Yes, I can't even remember who all of it was, but there was like Dick Enberg was there, Tim McCarver was there,
Jim Palmer
was there, and then of course at the end there was
Vitale.
Yeah, Dick Vitale was there, which is weird because he's a basketball guy. But then Dr. Joyce Brothers at the end, because of course she's going to have something to say about the 12-6 curve. So so now Frank is being led to home plate by the head usher to sing the national anthem because they believe he is Enrico Palazzo. By the way, just an aside, a good buddy of mine, Mike Govier, who actually has a really great movies podcast. If you haven't heard it, it's called Cinema 9. And he and two of his buddies, Eric and Travis and Mike, they get together and they do kind of similar to what we do, but they cover a broader thing. It's a really great show. But he also has a fantasy baseball podcast called the Palazzo Podcast.
Nice.
2 L's and 2 Z's. And so it's very much based off of this. So anyway, shout out to Mike and those great podcasts.
Yeah, shout out to Cinema 9.
Yeah. So Enrico Palazzo is now here to sing the national anthem. Of course, Frank can't sing. He certainly can't sing opera. First of all, the Star-Spangled Banner is among the hardest songs to sing, period. If you're a singer at all, and I did spend a brief amount of time in high school singing in choir, it is the hardest thing to sing. The range of notes you have to hit to actually properly sing the Star-Spangled Banner is insane. So it's super hard. And he not only is not singing it well, he's not even singing the right words for most of it. He's just
bunch of
making
bombs
stuff
in the air. Gave proof for the night that we still had our flag.
It's just, something about the home of the land and the free of the brave or something. Like, it's just, very bad. But he's noticing now the police or I don't know if it's stadium security or LAPD or whatever, but they're like, they know he's not supposed to be there.
Yes.
So they're like inching towards him, but they're also not sure. This is very much like Fletch, actually. They're kind of like,
we have to respect this. Like when he started the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah.
Same thing. So very much like at the end of Fletch, like these cops are moving slowly towards him because they want him to finish the Star-Spangled Banner. So as he finishes it, he has to haul ass back into the clubhouse, which is hilarious.
Oh my God. And the Queen, one of the things the Queen is there for is she's there to throw out the ceremonial first pitch. Before that, actually, they treat the crowd to please enjoy this hilarious sports blooper reel.
Yes.
I used to love this. I had a couple of those VHS tapes.
Yes.
When I was a teenager, that were like, great sports moments of the 80s, but then one was the bloopers.
Yeah.
And, they would sell them on TV and stuff.
We had the Jonathan Winters tapes, the NFL Jonathan Winters tapes. Those were great.
Get some Ray Stevens, some Jonathan Winters.
Exactly.
Freedom Rock. They, so they're pretty standard sports bloopers, but then all of a sudden the shortstop gets hit by a car.
Like in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. That's right.
Like, how'd they get a car on the field? Like, although back then they actually often did have a bullpen car that would drive the relief pitchers out from like center field if that's how the stadium was built. But that didn't really look like a bullpen car. It was like a car.
Somebody else gets mauled by a tiger.
That's right.
Someone jumping to catch a ball at the fence gets hit in the head by the ball and his head just comes off.
Pops right off.
And the crowd is reacting like this is just the goofiest, funniest, lighthearted stuff they've ever seen.
Just chuckling and laughing and guffawing.
The Queen's there to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
Steve, I wonder if you have any issues with this scene.
Well, I don't know about issues so much as I'd love to learn where the Queen learned how to throw a screwball like that or whatever that was, because it literally came in like a corkscrew.
But why is she throwing it from her seat?
That is odd. Yeah. I mean, I think that was,
it's a quick joke.
It's a quick joke.
Stage a whole stadium to show that.
Exactly. And I wonder, look, I've never attended a ball game where somebody sort of that geopolitical stature was throwing out the first pitch. Maybe that is how they would do it because it's easier to maintain her safety, not standing on the mound in the middle. I don't know. But yeah, it was a little odd.
George W. threw out the first pitch from the mound.
Yeah, I said important geopolitically.
50 Cent. No, I didn't get to 50 Cent.
That's actually a good point. Curtis Jackson, that man's a national treasure. So, but yeah, it was a little odd. But yeah, I think it's more just like I'm willing to look past that one. But I do think that pitch was wild and had the very Zucker brothers, the way that the players all reacted to it, like like almost like they're shaking. Look at just how wild that was that happened. It was just very funny.
And so Enrico Palazzo, Frank, has been chased away and he's got to find somewhere to go. And he sees the umpires all coming out to the field and he ends up, knocking out one of the umpires.
Is this a regulation bat? Clunk.
Takes his stuff. So now he's the home plate umpire.
Right.
And he's standing there. He's there to pat down players. He's not a trained umpire. So he's like, I don't know what to be doing. Yeah. And the manager's sitting there kind of looking at him like, so are we going to do this thing or not?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Play ball. So then the game starts.
Yep.
And the first pitch comes in, and he just kind of sits there and they're all looking at him like, are you going to call this? He's like, strike. And since it was a strike for the home team, the crowd goes cheering,
wild,
and he's eating this up. So we get a great scene of him calling strike on everything and really hamming up every single call and doing dances and everything.
It's a legendary umpire performance.
Oh, it's
so
really
good.
Is. And it's something that often, I'll hear people reference if there's a baseball game where sometimes you feel like, the ump is really making this his show instead of just calling balls and strikes, right? People will say like, oh, Enrico Palazzo is the umpire. It's really, really funny. And the crowd's getting all hyped and stuff. There's a montage now as they're going through the game because he has to do this before the 7th inning stretch when the assassination is supposed to happen. And we have Randy Newman's I Love LA playing.
I love that song.
Which is good in this context. Yes. I mean, it's just such a nice montage scene. Really good. And the funny ways that he's searching through the guys and then finding all these other illegal baseball things that the ump would normally care about, but he doesn't care about. So the pitcher, he finds Vaseline,
like an entire jar of Vaseline,
Dremel tool and like sandpaper and stuff. He pulls a cork out of a bat with a wine corkscrew. Really good.
But he's looking for a gun. He doesn't care about all that.
He's increasingly, as he's dusting off the plate, he's using a little brush and then he's using a dirt devil and then he's using like a plug-in Hoover vacuum. And then the other part of the montage is it's showing the managers. First of all, the baseball players spitting, which keeps escalating, right?
Gross.
And then the managers signaling to each other, which goes from the normal, touch your chin, touch your belt type stuff, to like full on flashing signal lights and like ship to ship semaphores and stuff. It was just really, really good, like elevating the stakes on that joke there.
Want to mention too at this point, the manager of the Angels in this movie played by Lawrence Tierney, who played Joe Cabot, the sort of head boss guy in Reservoir Dogs, the guy that gave all the names and the colors and did the whole like Toby Chang, Toby Ward. That's Joe Cabot. That's Lawrence Tierney. So he's who plays the Angels manager. I love that guy.
Nice.
But yeah, the whole like montage is great. And we get to the top of the seventh. So if we get through these three outs, it's the seventh inning stretch, right? Because it's the middle of the seventh inning is when the seventh inning stretches. Thank you, I think Herbert Hoover. I can't remember which president it was. Did Garfield? It was one of those guys did it for the first time, just stood up at a baseball game at that time and everybody did it because he was the president.
Nice.
That's how the seventh inning stretch came about. But yeah, so we get, Ed mentions to Frank, he's like, he's like, I've checked almost every player. I can't find anything. He's like, yeah, but if you got to stop this, that you can't let him get this last out. There's one more out to get through the top of the seventh. And so, pitch down the middle. I mean, the prettiest textbook strike ever. And he goes, ball. And it's like, the pitcher is like, what? And everybody's like, the crowd starts booing and it's like, all this stuff. And he keeps calling balls on like real strikes. And it causes the manager and all the players to just get apoplectic about, this ridiculously calls. And so, the Angels manager comes out and is screaming at him and then he's yelling at him. And then the other umpires get into it. The players start fighting. I mean, it just gets absolutely insane. And I think he throws one of the other
play at one of the bases. Right, and then the umps are throwing the ball back and forth and he's trying to eject one of the umps. It's just descends into chaos.
And Melot is there to be like, how about that? Over and over again.
He can't extend the game. And they decide like, no, that's too obvious. That's it.
Yep.
So now we're in the seventh inning stretch.
Yep. And my least favorite player in the history of Major League Baseball starts walking from center field. Oh, I hate Reggie Jackson so much.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say, do we have any other guys who might have fit? And I thought of a couple that might have been good candidates for this. I think Steve Garvey would have been a nice assassin guy. You know, is about the same point in his career as Reggie at that point. Yeah. And then I don't know, maybe a Mike Schmidt or someone like that.
It could have been fun. Like
the Reggie, and I was never. I mean, great ball player, like undeniably great player, but I think had a reputation as not being like the coolest guy.
I'll tell two stories about Reggie Jackson real quick, because why not? It's my podcast. It's our podcast, but whatever.
I co-sign this.
That's absolutely. So first off, Jackson went, he spent more time in Oakland with the A's, more years, more home runs he hit there, more games played, won more World Series, had more All-Star appearances from Oakland. Okay. So no matter how you look at it, he had more of his Hall of Fame career in Oakland than in New York. Yeah. But when it came time to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in baseball, unlike some of the other Halls of Fame, you go in with your plaque has your face and a hat with a logo on it.
And the player picks.
It got funky. There was a time when players didn't pick, and it was sort of picked by the Hall, like themselves. The National Baseball Museum picked. Then the Players Association worked in, like, now the players should be able to pick. And then it kind of has gone back and forth. And I think now it might be a thing where it's back to the Hall. They basically go off where you're most famous for, right? Okay. Now, of course, you could argue that Jackson was at least as famous in New York as he was in Oakland, because it was New York and the Yankees and the whole Mr. October thing. I get it. But he had more baseball success in Oakland. But when he was going into the Hall, Steinbrenner, the owner of the Yankees, basically paid him money and gave him a job with the Yankees to go in as a Yankee. So he went in with the Yankees emblem on his hat, and he's still there. Flip side of that is that when Jim Catfish Hunter, who had a very split career between Oakland and New York, and arguably more success with New York, though he did throw his perfect game with Oakland, he won more World Series in New York, I think, or something like that. It was like really close. He went in and he demanded that he have no emblem on his cap. So Jim Hunter's cap is blank, style, really cool. And so, so there's that. So I've always hated Reggie for that. And then when I think in 2004, at the 30th anniversary of one of the Oakland A's World Series wins, we got to meet a bunch of the players from those teams, from the 72, 73, 74 teams. So my wife and I went and, got some signatures or whatever. And we were getting, so many players I love from that era. Gene Tennis was there, Joe Rudy, Vida Blue, there's a whole bunch of great guys. And Reggie was there. And I got Reggie to sign my ball. And he was barely paying attention to anybody, not talking, being kind of above it. He's above it, basically. Yeah. So I go we go over to Vida Blue next. And Vida, if you're an Oakland A's fan, you know Vida Blue is like, he's just one of the guys. He's just always been a super cool guy, great to fans, great to kids. We walk up to him and he sees Reggie's signature on my ball and he literally laughs. He goes, ho, 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 the king graced us with his presence today, did he? And I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's hilarious. And he signs his butt. I'm like, yeah, he's sitting over there. He's on his phone. He goes, yeah, he is. All right, man, have a good day. Like, it was Vida was just so cool about it. But Reggie was such a dick. So yeah, not a fan of Reggie, but he is activated by, to get back to the movie now, he is activated by Ludwig's little keyless remote. And he, I must kill the queen.
Yes.
And so as a brawl is occurring, both teams are brawling like at the center. Or no, the brawl starts after he walks up, isn't it, or something? Or?
Yeah, so he's already on his way, but there's kind of a fight happening just because of the way everything ended and the players are all going after each other.
Right.
There ends up being a big doggy pile there, and Reggie kind of emerges from the bottom that comes out, I must kill the queen.
Right.
Question.
Yeah.
If he did kill the queen, would that be considered Reggie's side?
That's good.
Thanks, folks.
That's good. I don't know though. Also, Reggie's not the one who does he have to kill himself? Is that a double regicide then?
Oh. Yeah, he probably would have, right?
I think that's the plan. At least he's going to put it on himself.
So Reggie, who we've established is the worst human out of all the former professional athletes that are in this movie, is walking towards the queen and about to take a shot at her. Basically, Frank is trying to save the day, and he goes to his cufflinks, his cufflink darts. And he tries to shoot a knockout dart at Reggie, and it ends up hitting this woman.
It ricochets off something. It's not super clear to me, but it ricochets off something. Reggie hears it because he notices. He looks up. Yeah.
And this woman who's in the second deck gets hit.
Third deck.
Oh, third deck. All right. And she falls. I'm not used to baseball games selling that many seats.
That's true.
But I guess the queen was there.
Yeah.
And she ends up falling right on Reggie.
Yes.
And at this point, people recognize what Frank had done to save the day, and they say, that's not the Empire. That's Enrico Palazzo.
Not only does someone, who says that, right?
No.
That's Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure jumps up and goes, hey, it's Enrico Palazzo. In his one line.
Oh, that's great. I feel like he's gonna touch a lot of the films we end up doing, because that guy's sprinkled throughout the 80s in a lot of good ways.
Yeah. So there's hey, it's Enrico Palazzo, and so the queen has been saved, but now Ludwig has an Uzi because he just carries an Uzi with him.
Yep.
And he's put it into Jane's back, and he's gonna take her up to the concourse and whatever, leave or something, I guess, right? Because he knows. Or at least I think he's figured out that, Frank knows he's onto him, whatever. It's his time is numbered. So he goes up to the concourse with Jane, and Frank goes to stop him.
Frank says two can play at that game, and then he takes his own hostage to some random woman.
Some random chick.
Frank shoots Ludwig now with one of the knockout darts.
Oh, that's right, with the knockout
And
dart.
Jane is a little concerned, and he's like, oh, don't worry, he's just stunned. And he kind of stumbles backwards, falls back.
All the way down.
Crashes onto the ground below. Is immediately run over by a bus.
Right.
And then run over by a steamroller.
How a fish called Wanda of it, yeah.
And then we start hearing the band playing Louie Louie or something.
And this whole marching band goes across him. Just this really slow scene. And then it shows Ed and Frank looking down in a horrifying way. And Frank's like, oh, what a way to go. And Ed goes, my father went the same way.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, Ed, but that's okay. So as the marching band is walking all over the flattened corpse of Ludwig, it's stepping on this keyless remote thing again. And so now we're seeing someone new get activated, and oh my God, it's Jane. And she picks up the Uzi that Ludwig dropped and is pointing it at Frank. I must kill Frank Drebin. And, it looks like Frank is in trouble, but he starts pleading with her. It's Jane, remember, it's you and me, whatever. And
he's on the Jumbotron and stuff, and everyone's watching it. He says, Jane, since I met you, I've noticed things I've never noticed before. Birds singing, dew forming on a leaf, stoplights.
Yeah. That actually slipped by me. That joke slipped by me while I was watching. I had to rewind and go, did he say stoplights?
So he ends up saving the day, and it's all good. He and Jane embrace. And then just to add, a cherry on top to the whole thing, our friend Nordberg is out of the hospital and he's here in his wheelchair.
Frank, look.
And he's ready. Hey, Nordberg's back. He's here to say thank you, and his name is cleared and everything.
Right.
And Frank again, hey, Nordberg. And then his wheelchair starts rolling down the aisle in the stands, and he hits the end and does 5 flips off of it into the field. Once again, my wife said,
that could have been his punishment.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that's the end. I mean, we go to the song, and that's the end of the film. One thing I will say, if you watch this movie, it's worth watching the credits because there are jokes throughout the credits.
Okay.
There are joke roles. There would be something like, Mr. Zucker's assistant, Mr. Zucker's divorce attorney, and things like that. And then all these actors in the film that just have one line.
Yeah.
Instead of their character being listed, the line is in quotes and then it has the person's name, which I've never seen in credits for a movie before.
That's on IMDb as well. If you actually look at IMDb, it'll have a brief description like, woman at game, man at restaurant or whatever, but then they are listed in the IMDb credits officially as the line they have. So like the guy who plays Francis in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it says like man at game, hey, it's Enrico Palazzo. Like literally that's his billing
nice.
in officially. So, good for them on that. It's very also Monty Python, if you remember the opening of Holy Grail, where it's like, the people responsible for the thing have been sacked or whatever. And it's all just very funny. And the llama bit my sister once or whatever. Like, so I dig the whole using the credits as a gag thing. That's a lot of fun.
And this was, I don't think they really did post-credit sequences at this point, but this is about as good, as entertaining as your credits can be for a movie of this era. And that's it. And it's a very tight, what was it, 85 minutes, something like this for the movie.
Real quick.
Goes by quick, full of jokes. And that's where we end up with Naked Gun.
There we are. Cool. All right, I'm going to give my assessment first. This was your pick, so I'm going to go first. So I want to say two things. One, I loved this movie as a kid. I definitely did not find myself laughing out loud this watch through as I had in the past. I gave it a score in my little notebook. But having this conversation with you, I am rethinking that score. So I'm not even going to say what it was because it was kind of low. I was definitely like, this is like a little too dumb, whatever. But like, I feel like in the discussion we're having and the way I'm remembering it, even just having seen it like 2 days ago, I get it. Like I'm getting it more. So I think I'm going to go 3.5 out of 5 on Naked Gun. Maybe not as high as some folks are on it, but like, I'll say it. I originally wrote down a 2 out of 5 is what I originally thought. And then I was like, no, that's not fair. As I'm thinking about the gags and the jokes and stuff, they are dumb, but they're dumb in the best possible way. Things like The Lonely Island and I Think You Should Leave, like they don't exist without the Zuckers doing what they did. Right. Maybe a little bit as well. Mel Brooks, had the same kind of influence, but really the Zuckers, Monty Python, Mel Brooks, that is absurdism of the era of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that spawned some of what I think are the funniest people today. Yeah. Including like, even like Please Don't Destroy and stuff. Like all those guys are just great and obviously really glom on to this stuff from their own childhood. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think Naked Gun is a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to the reboot, which if you're listening to this episode, the day it comes out, is in 2 days. So get out to the theater on Friday and go check it out. But yeah, so 3.5 out of 5 for me. A lot of fun, definitely not like perfect in any way and whatever. But like, even if I wasn't laughing out loud, I like smiled through the whole movie. There was no point where I was like actually bored. It's not long enough to get bored by any other thing.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And honestly, our conversation did bump my score up a little bit. I really enjoyed this movie. But talking through it, I'm just thinking about how many comedies can you run through this many scenes that you could talk to another person who's seen the movie and both laugh about it again,
That's a good point. Hopefully people listening are laughing too.
Yeah. And the way that jokes are structured, I just appreciate so much. And then bringing the influence of this like Three Stooges, Looney Tunes type stuff, which really gets me, especially in live action stuff when you're able to make it cartoony. I enjoy it. I'm sure if you searched me saying cartoony throughout this series, I really talk about it a bunch. I love Leslie Nielsen. I love the team behind it. And I did love the sequels to this. I think they're definitely worth watching. There's not a lot of drop off necessarily. I agree. It's strong jokes throughout. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5.
Nice. That's 7.5 out of 10 from us, which puts us right where the IMDb score is, a little under the Rotten Tomato score, but like that, I think that makes a lot of sense. This is a fun movie. I don't know how many people listening haven't seen The Naked Gun, but if you haven't, like, go see this movie.
It's for sure worth seeing. And then anything under 90 minutes. Yeah. I mean, this is like a season premiere of a prestige TV show in length, right?
Absolutely.
It's worth watching.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the kind of thing where, we don't have the Blockbuster VHS $2.99 bin, but this is the kind of thing that's on sale on like the iTunes movie store, the store with Apple or whatever. It's got to be like a couple of bucks to get The Naked Gun. So definitely go see it.
That's Naked Gun. 7.5. Good. And then Steve is up next. I'm excited to hear where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, we're definitely going a very different feel for this one. So we're going to go to 1997. That's when this movie came out that we're going to watch next week. It's from one of my favorite directors, somebody who I very much look up to and who has been very misunderstood over his career until recently, I think. And certainly at the time this movie came out, it was panned. It was not well received. It was seen as pro-fascist, sort of almost like in some cases we've seen reviewers talk about it as being pro-Nazi, which is insane because Paul Verhoeven, the director of this movie, grew up in occupied Holland, like during World War II. Like he is an anti-fascist.
Yeah.
He is, a progressive, politically person. And his other films like RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, and Showgirls are all satires of different elements, whether it's police militarization, consumerism, the entertainment industry, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
America's general obsession with sex and violence and Basic Instinct. This one, though, is a satire of fascism, of militarization, and of military, sort of a preemptive strike mentality of the human race. And it's Starship Troopers. And it's based off the novel by Robert Heinlein. And Robert Heinlein, not so anti-fascist.
Yeah, okay, good. I can't wait to talk about that because, I can't wait to get into it. This movie I remember seeing in high school.
Yeah.
I loved it
then,
and I've seen it a few times since then, so I can't wait to talk about this one.
A lot of fun. So Starship Troopers will be next week. We'll get into that one, maybe a little poignant for today's day and age as well.
Yeah.
If you like what you're hearing, folks listening out there, please go over to Apple, go over to Spotify, throw us a 5-star review. It helps people find the show. Go ahead and follow us because we put out new episodes every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern. You can count on it. If you want to send us an email, that's the show at 2dads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. This has been The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. And this has been another episode of 2 Dads, 1 Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you all for listening so much, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.